Hello and welcome to the Buttcast episode 19. Today's special guest is Luke
From Team Crow.
from Team Crow. So, I'll start like how I usually do with new guests. Let's talk about when was the first time you ever held a Yu-Gi-Oh card?
The first time ever?
If you can remember.
I think I was around 6 or 7 when my parents took us to Walmart.
Mhm.
And as we were checking out, I saw this pack that said Yu-Gi-Oh! Or like a Yu-Gi-Oh! Card booster pack.
Mhm.
And I was like, this looks like pretty cool. I asked my mom to, hey, maybe, we can get this. And she said no, because, it seemed stupid at the time. And I guess, later on, they wanted to still satisfy me because they saw that I took interest into that sort of game. So they got me a DS for Christmas. They got me a DS game, which was the Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship 2008 game for the DS. And that's probably when I first fell in love with the game in total.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got your start with the DS game.
Yeah.
What was the DS game like?
The DS game, it was interesting. It featured mainly like a couple of AI duelists that you can duel, and there was always like a preset ban list on the game, so like you couldn't really do much. But I fell in love because of the animation and the music were like spot on. That's something like I took interest in.
Was it because it was just like the show, or?
I didn't really watch the show until like I want to say a year later. I just saw like it had that cool monster animation. I was like, I think this is something that I can get into.
That's a very interesting trajectory. Instead of starting with the show, you started with the packs, which then led to you getting the DS game.
Yeah.
And from there, that was your jumping off point.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. That's an unusual path to end up coming here from.
But definitely.
I want to dig more. What sort of memories do you have of this game? Were you too young to really remember any of it? Or do you remember, this was really frustrating or this was really cool, stuff like that?
Oh, no. Like, I have a lot of, even like more recent memories because I still have my DS, but the same copy of the same game was like lost at times because, we always we moved around and stuff.
Okay.
So it was only probably like, I want to say 2 to 3 years ago when I got enough. I decided to went to my local GameStop and bought the game. But this is only specifically re-getting the game itself, and it was like $20. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
And then I got to relive my childhood memory.
That's cool. But tell me some stories. What was the deck you loved playing in that game? If there was a name for it, whatever you would call it.
Oh, there was definitely not a name for it. I want to say it's mostly like how old Yu-Gi-Oh! Or like how GOAT format is. It's just a lot of beatdown. Just summon the highest attack monster, keep pressure on the field, and then just pass from there.
So what was like the ace monster for you?
Funny enough, Dark Blade.
Blade.
It's a level 4 vanilla. It didn't really do much, but
who was listening to this podcast and doesn't know who Dark Blade is? Dark Blade, the playground staple.
Yes.
The iconic favorite card of so many young men.
I summon as a bad boy, and the AI just has to set and pass, and I was like, I'm in control of this game.
And what a power play, summoning Dark Blade. So it was following roughly modern rules then? Like you couldn't normal summon any huge monsters, so it generally was a pretty high attack point normal summon then.
Yeah, you want to just apply pressure by just keeping the highest attack monster on the field, but not trying to play into stuff like Trap Hole and Mirror Force because those two were still legal in that DS game. I don't know why. I thought it was funny.
Was Mirror Force limited or was it at 3?
I think it was limited.
Okay.
So it's at least once they got the Mirror Force out, then I could just reset my board.
And the animations, you said that they were really cool animations.
Yeah, the animation. So they had only a few amount of preset animation, but it's like, once when you summon the Dark Magician, it's just like it has this like heroic theme song just comes out, and it just like shows the monster like in its full display like a statue of some sort.
Mm-hmm. There's just Dark. Was the thing you summoned to make the animation usually Dark Magician?
Usually not Dark Magician because like it kind of sucked, but Summon's Gold had one, and I always like.
There you go.
Probably contribute to that,
or an actually decent card. Yeah.
But I always have to watch out because Trap Hole was at 3, and that was a real thing. So yeah.
And so you start with this game, and then you kind of got in the show afterwards. Mm-hmm. When was it that you actually started getting into the physical card game?
The physical card game?
Was it friends at school? Was it?
I mean, so whenever I was young and after like bought the game itself, that's when I decided like, my parents gave me an allowance, and then that's when I used my allowance on, just like save enough to bought like a pack or two of there. Mm-hmm. I usually like bought those $5 Walmart scam ones because I saw it seemed so valuable for like $5, even though like most of it was trash cards, but. It's still like,
to you as a kid,
it was a treasure chest to me. Yeah, and then when I first got into the actual competitive scene I got back in 2018, I want to say, or 2017. That's when my friends, they reintroduced me back to the Yu-Gi-Oh game because they were playing Yu-Gi-Oh one time, and then I was like, "Oh, is that Yu-Gi-Oh?" And they were like, "Yeah." Like. They asked me, do I play? And then I said, yeah, I used to play before. And then they got all so jittery and excited that they bought me a starter deck, which was the starter deck Codebreaker, the one with a Playmaker on it. And yeah, that was like a very changing moment because from there I just I started loving the game again. I bought a lot of product, which was pretty stupid, but. I was really hyped. I was like really getting back to it. Yeah, I bought like a lot of Legendary Collection Kaiba, Megatins. They were probably like the most I bought to this day. Even
I feel like that's part of falling back in love with the game is wasting a lot of money on product.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to back up a little bit to you used to play, and then when you got into the competitive scene, what was it like before then? Like, what was the first? If you were to give a deck a name, what was the first named deck that you played?
Of a real deck, or just like something that I made?
Anything you felt like you could call something not a pile. The first thing you were like, this deck has some semblance of a strategy.
It's probably gonna have to be the same year I got back into the physical game back in 2017 or 18 with the Codebreaker structure deck.
Okay.
I didn't like go with that, but I eventually got the structure deck Zombie Horde R. So it featured a Doom King, Balrog, and all that. And
I remember that structure deck very well. Yes,
that was probably the first actual structure deck or deck that like I bought 3 of it, and then like just made a deck and look for strategy on the line to like figure it out mostly.
So it sounds like you kind of had an interest very early on, but that kind of waned.
Yeah.
And then much later, pretty recently, well, I guess not that recently, but 4 years ago-ish, you got back, and then since then you've kind of been sprinting down the, you've kind of been sprinting with your involvement in the game, just going from nothing to being really, really involved. Mm-hmm. So you got your Zombie Horde structure deck, you built a zombie deck, you played with your friends. Was that high school for you?
No, it was like around after like I didn't play with anybody at the high school because it was like around the time that we all like graduated, so didn't really have like that much time to really play with them. Mm-hmm. But my friend he told me about that. Like high school did have like a Yu-Gi-Oh scene, and funnily enough, middle school. At middle school, I did start to see Yu-Gi-Oh, but like it didn't really kick off from there. Okay. But in high school, there was apparently like Black Wings and Madolches were the biggest meta there. And yeah, there was somebody, I don't know if they're fine with their name being revealed, but it was like, let's just say he was like a very competitive Madolche player. He had like all these Ghost Rare and Ultimate Rares in his deck.
Oh.
And he was like usually the person to ask for rulings because he's also like, he has the most expensive deck, so he probably like knows his stuff, right?
You think?
But no. It was definitely not. It was just like he has shiny cards, so he must be important.
Was he just like a rich kid, or
he probably was a rich kid? I went to like a decently like rich high school, but that was about it.
For my high school, the person who would do that sort of thing he played Blackluster Soldier.
Oh,
like the ritual deck. That was his thing.
Oh, really?
Yes, he would splurge on the most expensive cards for his BLS deck. And by then, I'd already had because I played during middle school as well. And by high school, I had enough of a grasp of what was going on to know that the cards he was buying were like for actually competitive good decks, and not for Blackluster Soldier. I can't remember any examples, but he bought really expensive stable cards to put in his Blackluster Soldier deck, and I was like, "That's weird." When was that? I guess that would have been 2016-ish. 2017.
Man, that's not that far. Or that doesn't seem like very distant, but at the same time, that was like 6 years ago.
We're all getting older. We're all like, yeah, 2018. That was so recent. That just happened.
Yeah.
2019. I remember that. That just happened.
Yeah, that was like the year that Call of Duty Modern Warfare came out. And now,
that's a funny way to put it. For me, 2019 is like, oh yeah, that's when I started college.
Oh, yeah. Same here. Or actually, no, it was like 2018. I started college. Still trying to like graduate, but I'll be there.
You'll be there. But when you started going to college, is that when you really got into playing with other people, or?
Yes, I want to say that. Like, I think college is where like I saw the actual most competitive scene. Whereas like everybody, or at least most people, have a resemblance of a deck that is usable at locals, or I guess like it can hold up to itself to locals.
Yeah, I'd say for the most part, everyone's got a local ready deck.
Yeah.
Then again, local isn't exactly the highest standard. We've got a few people here, yourself included, that are considered more competitive by the group. You're usually, in the time that I've known you, you're usually playing something more competitive and actually understand what you're doing with it compared to some people who will have a expensive good deck but don't really know what to do. Everyone who I talk to ranks you as one of the more competitive players. How does that make you feel?
It feels a little weird, but because it also like reminds me of how like so much I progressed to the point now like I'm an actual Yu-Gi-Oh judge.
Oh,
if you haven't known.
I did not know.
Yeah, I passed my RC1, which is like the basic form of PSAT test. PC1, which is like talks about policy, and it's actually the most important one that, if you want to be a Yu-Gi-Oh judge, you have to have that. And then like DC1 was just like more extra. Not needed, but just might as well.
Just the fruit on the cherry on top?
Yeah.
A little bit of extra stuff?
Yeah.
So the policy stuff, that's kind of like what punishments for what infringements?
Policy or PC1, the test was it's really revolving around like scenarios where like you have to know what that one infraction or like punishment that people should get whenever like something goes wrong. Like let's just say I had a mandatory effect to like apply, like let's just say the Bestial Magnamon, like add a dragon at end phase. And, I cannot leave the end phase before I, like, resolve it. But let's just say, like, we both forgot that effect, and then we pass turn to the opponent. And then, during the draw phase of the turn 2, and where turn 1 was where I activated Magnamud, I say, "Oh, I forgot to resolve Magnamud." So we call so if you were to call a judge, the judge would determine that, hey, because Magnamud was mandatory to resolve, both players would be getting a P minor probably, or P warning, because it was a mandatory effect. You were supposed to resolve it at end phase, and if you didn't, well, you're almost making the game
misrepresented the game state. Yeah,
basically.
So they both get a warning.
Yeah, both usually both get a warning, but like to like a more detailed, we would probably do an investigation to determine whether or not is the appropriate infraction to be given. But those are minor stuff. It's more like if something bad were to go happen, like people was being disorderly at an event, then we try to just handle it as much as we can, to the best of our abilities, and we try not to sway them off, but try to get them to not be there or not be disorderly.
Have you actually judged at any events?
Mostly locals.
Yeah.
But I'm planning to judge a upcoming regional, which is the Sci-Fi regional around April 8th, I want to say. Just around the first week of April. Well, which, everybody should come by if you're in the DFW area.
And so you're probably going to be a judge there.
Yeah.
That's the plan anyway. They pay you, right?
Yeah, in appropriate compensation. I'll be a floor judge there, so if you see me, say hi, or do whatever.
You want to give people a description, although everyone listening to this already knows what you look like?
Yeah, I mean, Asian, kind of.
Are you going to wear a Team Chrome shirt or something?
No. I wish, just as I'm judging, I just go, hey, shout out to Team Chrome.
Well, you don't have to say nothing. You just have the shirt,
Yeah, just visually showing.
Do they care what you wear as a judge?
Oh, definitely. At least I believe in particularly tier 2 events, which is regional and all that stuff.
Yeah.
They usually care about your attire. You want to have the judge Konami judge shirt actually, and I believe black pants. Just whole black attire. Just to
you have to wear a uniform of sorts, basically.
It's basically a uniform, yeah.
But can you get away with the Team Chrome patch? Team Chrome pin, a hat. There we go.
I don't think so. I mean, I could hopefully try, but they'll probably tell me to take it off.
I don't know. Do y'all have a logo?
Not at the moment, which is funny enough.
I mean, it's pretty simple. It's just a chromosome.
Yeah, or the acrylic coloring, I want to say, right? What? The silver chrome.
Oh,
yeah, that one.
Yeah. But it's chrome as in chromosome, right?
Yeah.
You want to go ahead and explain the joke behind your channel name? Who came up with it, by the way?
I believe it was my friend Nolan, or it was a combination of me, my two other friends. We were joking around on how how stupid we are, and then eventually the name Chrome just came up because chromosome, and yeah, I'm not gonna explain the joke because it would be.
I think you have enough information now.
Yeah,
I feel like there's probably a Yu-Gi-Oh card that has a chromosome looking thing on it.
Probably.
I'm thinking about Chemicritter.
Oh yeah, Chemicritter probably the closest.
Chemicritter, I'm pretty sure they've got something that looks like that. I'm trying to find something, but no, Synthesis does not look like chromosomes at all. I don't know. I'm sure you could find something and then yoink it like every other Yu-Gi-Oh channel ever. Just take a card art and then say, yep, this is us. We are this Yu-Gi-Oh card. I mean, that's what I did.
Yeah.
Goku wearing a cowboy hat.
Hey,
that was me.
It is iconic. I like it.
I think some of your other team members have said that now every time they see Bambuku, they're like, where's his cowboy hat?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's just so, because one of us watches your podcast, so it's like they got their mind fixated on that. It's just so funny.
Yeah. I'm happy with the clip art that I managed to throw on top of Bambuku. And suddenly now I've got a whole identity here. Yeah, it's Bambuku wearing a cowboy hat. If I ever go to an event, which is not going to happen, but if I did, I would definitely wear some
Bambuku
wearing a cowboy hat merch. Maybe I could wear a cowboy hat with Bambuku wearing a cowboy hat on it. Oh. There we go. That'd give me some weird looks for sure.
Yeah, but then, they might take notice.
They might, maybe. So anyway, you've done lots of local judging. Well, lots, but you've done it on a couple of occasions at least.
Oh, yeah.
And now you're going to try to do your first one at a regional.
Yeah.
And then, is the procedure for regional YCS basically the same? I'd imagine so, just larger scale.
Procedure the same. Probably, but I'm like a more recent, newer judge.
Yeah.
So I'm like kind of still trying to get everything intact.
Mm-hmm. But trying to get a feel for things.
Yeah. Then maybe hopefully I could later judge a YCS. Mm-hmm. But of course that requires me traveling and stuff.
Yeah.
But that also allowed me to get the RC2, which I got denied. Or I didn't get denied, but there wasn't somebody who could issue the test to me.
Fill me in. What is RC2?
RC2 is just a more comprehensive PSC. It's problem solving context. That's all it does. Mm-hmm. It's like a slightly harder RC1, but having an RC2 doesn't necessarily make you a better judge. It's just you're more. It just looks nicer.
Uh-huh. Do you have to apply to be a judge? I imagine at these events.
Yeah. Whenever a YCS get announced, there'll usually be a judge call to ask for people to come judge at the appropriate location, mm-hmm. and they'll probably work out the detail within email and stuff like that. But yeah, that's probably about it.
Who are the people who get the judge care packages? Where they get the judge mat and the judge sleeves. What kind of category of judge do you have to be to get that stuff?
There's no particular category as far as I know. It's mostly if you judge at a regional, and it depends on the tournament organizer, or if you judge at YCS, mm-hmm. then you should get compensated in judge care packages, and even more at probably Worlds, if there was ever one.
So you get it for helping at an event.
Yes.
Rather than being on an emailing list or something.
Yeah, particularly, it's only tier 2 to higher events. Those are where you actually get judge related stuff. At tier 1, you probably just get some little stuff that's at the venue or the store that you're judging at.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So is that how the compensation usually is? It's usually stuff, or?
It's usually dependent. But it depends a lot on what they want to give you, store credit or
working with what you've done, helping out at locals and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. What is it usually store credit? Is it usually cards?
It's just store credit and some bags. It's not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
But I mostly got into the judge program particularly because I want to try give rulings or help people out with rulings, because during my time while playing, I noticed whenever something happens and my opponent doesn't really know the interaction, I try to explain to them, and they always deny it, or they want to call a judge for it, and I'm like, wow.
What if I was the judge?
Yeah, what if I was the judge and you gotta now listen to me?
Uh-huh.
But it's not that bad of an experience. Just you will get some weird rule callings.
Mm-hmm.
I could probably name a few. It's
I'd love if you showed some ruling stories.
Yeah. I know. I still remember around whenever I was shadowing in particular. That's whenever you get you ask a TO for how to get experience with judging, or how learn how to basically be a judge. Mm-hmm. You shadow first, which is just being an intern. You just look over and then practice.
Mm-hmm.
But It was one where where it was a Madolche player versus like somebody who was like playing Pankratops.
Okay.
And the Madolche player had a Gravekeeper's Trap Hole, which is it negates whatever monster effect activates in hand. Mm-hmm. And they try to do that against Pankratops, who like summons without starting a chain.
Yeah.
Are
you allowed to say inherent summon? Or as a judge, are you banned from using that phrase?
Not banned, but it's just like it doesn't really. It's like fan terms like that doesn't like explain the game enough. Uh-huh. Like it's just like how do you explain like inherent summon whenever like somebody doesn't understand, and then it gets to the point.
Summon that doesn't start a chain.
Yeah, but then some people like have different. I think my judge friend, he put it like appropriately, where it's just like you can't really explain inherent summon because like if you try to explain it and then multiple people try to explain it, it becomes like so diluted where it's like you don't really know what it means exactly. Mm-hmm. You just like assume something is an inherent summon, but it's not really an inherent summon. Or like, super poly. Like if it's not within the game rulings or the game like, terminology at all, then it's probably best to avoid saying stuff like that.
So at least it's muddied up with other people giving it slightly different meanings.
Yeah.
Versus official Konami lingo, which has a very set meaning.
Yeah.
So is it summon without summon without starting a chain? Is that like the official?
That's probably the best way to put it. Just
okay.
Like it doesn't. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they try to like Gravekeeper's Trap Hole the Pankratops summon, and then the guy who summoned Pankratops said no, you couldn't, and they called judge. Yeah, I came to see. I basically asked them, hey, what's whose turn is it, and then what's happening, and then I got the chain links or scenario quickly down because I was able to like see what happens, and then I explained to them no because Pankratops doesn't actually activate. It's a summon that doesn't start a chain, and Gravekeeper's Trap Hole has no effect that interacts with Pankratops specifically. Mm-hmm. So, gave my ruling, and then I kind of dipped from there. And yeah.
And that was just weird because it felt like it's something they really should have known. Was that the weird part about it?
Probably, but I mean, I won't fault people for not knowing stuff like that if, they don't really pay attention. I just give my ruling and then I just, hopefully they learn. Mm-hmm. If not, then, maybe the next few times.
I'm looking for some funny stories, though. Like some people that had, like, no, something wacky. Anything?
Oh, I think it's like last night. Or not last night, but like Tuesday night, where I was judging or being a floor judge, helping a shadow judge, and then I was giving like some ruling questions or scenarios for them to like try to potentially answer. It was involving number 41 Baguska versus like Artifact Scythe because they asked me about that a while ago.
Okay.
So I was originally going to say like, hey, so if my opponent has Baguska and I summon Scythe, I go Chainlink 1 Scythe, and then like my opponent doesn't respond to it, then I go Chainlink 2 Droplet, or like at least in some way send the Scythe off the field, and I don't negate the Baguska. The Scythe that gets negated, but I didn't before I was able to give the actual question. That's when somebody called a ruling concerning Baguska. And like it wasn't Scythe, but it was the Flunderies. It was one of the Flunderies monster.
Yeah, so they had like normal Robina and then try to get rid of it.
They try to get rid of it with Advent of Adventure, and then they were asking me if does Baguska still negates, which short answer is yes, because Baguska specifically say negate the activated effects of monster that were in defense when their effects activated at that time.
When they activated. Yep.
There you go. And because in Yu-Gi-Oh, when you activate a card or effect, it always activate and resolve in that same location, even if like you pay the cost to like put it into another different location, like Rescue Cat or something like that.
It's usually just use it to dodge targeting effects.
Yeah,
if I understand correctly.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a lot of negation targets, and then if you remove the target, then it resolves without effect.
Yes.
Judges.
Yeah.
I've seen some of the judge packages that they get. Some of them are pretty cool, like the mats.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like the vampire judge mat I saw a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that one was really cool. I feel like that'd be the only reason I'd ever want to be a judge, though. I'd show up, I'd be a judge at some regional or something, get my mat, and then get out of there. But then if they give you a lame mat, it's like...
I mean, it's something like you can put like part of the collection, or like at least give it to somebody who might want it.
I don't know, because for me, like I don't go to regionals because time and money are the main things for me personally. Why I don't do that, but
That's fair.
If I was, I don't want. How do I say this in the more straightforward way? I really like the mats sometimes. Like the IP mat, when they were giving that out, I was like, oh, that's a really cool mat for topping regionals. There were a couple other mats throughout me being aware of what was going on that I thought were really cool. Mm-hmm. And the judge mats look really cool. But I would never buy those.
That's fair.
Because I didn't earn them, right? Mm-hmm. You earned them by doing something, so I'm not just going to buy it. But at the same time, it's like, I'd have to ramp up how competitive I am to be able to top a regional.
Yeah.
And just hope that during that time period where I could afford a deck that's good enough to top a regional and have enough time to get good at playing that deck, and there's a regional nearby that I can go to, that when all that aligns, there also happens to be a good mat that they're giving away instead of some boring one.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like...
Or it has to truly align.
Uh-huh. I wonder if they'd ever consider doing, like, pick your mat. Like, you got to choose from a selection of mats. Or if that'd be too convoluted and it's just better to just print out a bunch of the same mat and give it away to everybody who tops.
It's probably convoluted and takes more resources to print out multiple mats, and it's just like give it to the appropriate judges.
I wonder if they just, because I'm sure they have leftover mats.
Probably, but who knows?
It's not like they can know. I guess they. No. I guess they could know exactly how many people are going to top events. Yeah. Since it's exactly, 16 people from this event and 32 people. Well, they don't know until the event starts, right? How many people will get top cut? They can guess, but they don't know, right?
People experience probably like dictated it. Like, it's usually probably going to be given to only like top 8 particularly. Uh-huh. That's like the new standard right now.
Is that like, only top 8?
Yeah, top 8 will get the playmat, but top 4 will get like a deck box included. Mm-hmm. It's like
I feel like I remember regionals that used to be top 16 and YCSs that were top 32 that you got them at.
Yeah.
Was that just how it used to be, or?
I believe that's just how it used to be. I can't really say much because like I wasn't really at those times.
Yeah.
But that sounded like a lot better than like what we have currently.
Where you could top an event and leave with nothing except your top cut. Mm-hmm. No proof.
Yeah, and that just leaves like less people or less supply of the mat going around.
Mm-hmm. That help lower the price for people who do want to buy it?
Yeah.
Well, prizing in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a whole topic to itself.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Since they aren't allowed to give you money.
Yeah, I think that's like one of my biggest gripes is like, you're mostly like kind of, you're doing it to like to like get a specific card, but like other card games have like given monetary support to like give incentives, while Yu-Gi-Oh is still kind of just like mostly giving certain cards like the YCS prize cards and just like certain mats. I think the best thing is like you can win a Nintendo Switch. Yeah. And then I believe one of the YCSs, or like I think it was a 3v3, and for Las Vegas was the Steam Deck, which was like, maybe a little improvement.
I think there's a way that it could be done, like, because I'm fairly certain it was Tezuki Takahashi that specifically didn't want prize money to be delivered. Whatever the case may be, there is something beyond the control of just normal Konami prevents them from giving out cash prizing, to the best of my knowledge. So if we just exclude that as a possibility, I think there are still really cool ways they can do prizing without having to. That would still make it more worthwhile. Obviously, most of us are going for the experience, not necessarily for the prizing. But I think if they, for instance, prize cards, right? Yeah. Usually it's just like, I don't know, is it like top 4? No, usually it's just like first place. They get maybe first and second place. They get whatever card.
I believe it's like top 16.
Oh, top 16.
I could be wrong, but that's like, if you're within that range or margin, then you're probably going to get like a prize card.
Interesting. Whereas I think it would be cool if it was like, okay, let's say it's an event where the top cut should be top 16, right?
Yeah.
You have that many players, however many players that is. Top cut's top 16. I would say that what would be cool is if you gave top 16 people the prize card, right? And then you gave top 8 people the prize card higher rarity.
I think they're actually doing that for a lot of YCS Las Vegas.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So it's like first place gets the actual ultra rare version of that card, while second place will get the super rare version of the same card.
I'm thinking. Okay, so to go back to my example, top 16. I'm thinking top 16. Of course, everyone gets a map.
Yeah.
I think they should. I don't know if it's a cost thing or whatever, but you got to get the mats out there because everyone loves the mats. People love using the mats.
Yeah.
It's a cool status symbol. It's a cool thing, and it's something that is very easy to sell if you need to sell it, right? Because who doesn't like the cool top cut mats, right?
Or, well, particularly trade it for it,
trading it for some cards you need, stuff like that.
Yeah, just like, hey, maybe I want that playmat, but you have like some, at least like one of the best things about the playmats is like they're usually gonna have probably like some high value because like the scarcity of the mats naturally. So you'll probably get like a good stable card or a good stable playset.
So I think there should be a lot more of those mats because everybody loves the mats.
Right, yeah.
And then I think rather than have it be like top is ultra rare, an ultra rare for getting first place at a top 16, that's probably a regional.
But it's a pretty cool thing.
Just an ultra rare should be at least an ultimate or Starlight, something like that.
Oh, that's what I think. That would be really cool.
If you topped if you got first place is not easy. No matter what tier of event, getting first place is going to be hard.
Yeah.
You at a regional, it's one thing to, if you're a really good player, consistently topping, and if you're playing the right deck, it's not necessarily going to be an issue. But getting first place, and from my limited understanding, that's always going to be a challenge, even for the most competitive players. So letting someone like that walk away with a Starlight Rare or an Ultimate Rare version of whatever the prize card is seems to be really cool. And also, if you do that, only the people who won events get that card at that highest rarity. So it's going to be worth a small fortune.
Yeah.
Versus some top cut card that, every event 8 people walk away with this rarity of this card. Or maybe more. Whereas now it's because the problem with the giving away the consoles, right?
Okay.
It is way. I'd imagine they are buying those consoles new. I would be very surprised if Konami was buying used consoles to give to people, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. It'll be an awful experience. Just like get the Nintendo Switch, but found out it's like used from GameStop or whatever.
So it's probably going to be a new console.
Yeah.
But if that person wants to sell or trade away that console, it's going to be very difficult for them to do that without taking a huge cut of the value away, right?
That's probable, yeah.
it's not exactly super easy for a Yu-Gi-Oh player to effectively convert a random console into something valuable to them, whether that's money or trades or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But if it's a unique rarity Yu-Gi-Oh card, well, guess what? They're a Yu-Gi-Oh player. They've been spending this whole time knowing how to convert something like that into whatever it is they want, right?
Right.
Whereas the consoles, it just seems like would be, and also if you win more than one event, what was the joke? Like Jesse Cotton won 3 events, 3 regionals or something, and he got 3 Nintendo Switches.
He did win 3 YCS back to back.
There you go. Mm-hmm. And he had 3 consoles, and it's he's not gonna. This man doesn't need another Nintendo Switch.
True.
He's got plenty of Nintendo Switches at this point. 2 is one too many already. The third one definitely. But if that was the third copy of a Starlight Rare prize card, now that'd be pretty wild, right?
Yeah.
And also, now I'm just rambling, so don't mind me.
No, that's all good.
If the prize card, because a lot of the times the prize cards are, I don't even know what the prize cards are nowadays, but now are they the ones that cannot be used in a duel all the time? Is that what they are nowadays?
Yeah, most of the time, but recently, Konami took a little backwards and just printed a vanilla monster, which could be used for duels, I think.
But just isn't competitive card, so it's just a collector's item.
It's mostly collector's item. The text even says whoever obtains this is a champion.
That's pretty cool.
That.
I think that's cool. That's definitely a cool collector's item. That in the vanilla text, the obtainer of this card is a champion or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think it's cool if it's just a rarity upgrade for a card that exists. For instance, right now, right? If you gave them a Starlight Rare Magnamut.
That would be very...
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be definitely
And then
cool.
it's you go to a tournament and the person's playing... And it'd have a different code than if it... Because I don't think Magnamut has a Starlight. But even if it did end up being a card that eventually got a Starlight, if this policy was in place before, it might be the case that Ice Jade... Or Mirror Jade, is that his name? Yeah, Mirror Jade.
Mirror Jade.
Was a Starlight, and now they're releasing it as a Starlight for real. But it'd be a different code on it, instead of being from whatever set that new one's going to be from. So you'd still be able to distinguish them pretty easily. I don't know. I think that'd be pretty cool. Can you just imagine you go to an event and you come out and you got some actual staple card that you could use? Because for one, if it is a token, if it's a normal monster, that's cool. It's a cool collector's item, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't think of yourself as being a collector, because not all competitive players think of themselves as being collectors.
Yeah.
It's not worth as much to you, right? Mm-hmm. But if it's a card you would actually be able to use competitively, that's also a collector's item. Mm-hmm. Now you're just balling out of control, Yeah. Imagine if Jesse Cotton had topped those 3 YCSs, gotten first place, won those 3 YCSs.
Yeah, he did win.
And he got 3 copies of some staple card in a max rarity that no one else has, and then he just rolls up to an event with them, and you're playing against him, and he goes, summon Magnamut, summon Magnamut, summon Magnamut, and there's the 3 Starlight Rare Magnamuts, and you're like, man, I'm getting flexed on hard. This man is a Yu-Gi-Oh god. It's you're never going to use that token in a real. You're never going to use that vanilla monster in a real duel unless you just use it as a token or something, right?
Right.
I don't know. I think it. And the 2 points I'm trying to make is I want the top end of events prizing to be better, and I think they can do that without taking, because the thing with cash prizing is obviously it costs them however much money they give out in cash prizing, right?
Yeah.
$10,000 cash prize is $10,000. It is what it is. But for them, if they're releasing unique rarity cards, or it could be a unique rarity or just a max rarity, whatever, right? That's costing them, however many cents or dollar, whatever it takes for them to produce those, which they've got a whole industry made around doing that. So I imagine they can do it pretty economically. But because of the scarcity of it, it's still going to be very valuable, right? Mm-hmm. it's a way for them to make a prize that is worth more money to the people who get it than it was to Konami. Because, like, for the console, they had to spend however much money to get that console, and it's going to max resale for that amount of money. I'm basically telling Konami, like they already know, how to print money, which is you make the cardboard shinier, and suddenly people are willing to spend a lot more money on it, even though it didn't cost them that much money. They should already know this, but just let the people at the top end of these events get the opportunity to do the same.
Probably, but I'm not really like versed into what Konami wants to do. Yeah,
as well.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Mostly like I want to just judge or like sometimes just play.
I'm just having a conversation with you.
No,
you don't have
fine.
to. You don't have to agree with me
No,
by any means. You have a slightly different perspective than me since you actually go to tier 2 events and stuff like that, unlike me. But then the second point I was going to make, so the top end, I think the top end should be higher, and I think that's a good way to do it without necessarily increasing the overhead cost very much. And then I think the low end should also be higher. I think that more people should walk home with mats.
More people?
Mm-hmm. And maybe even like, I don't know, like day 2 for bigger events. You just give them something, like a dice.
Yeah.
Imagine how happy people would be if you made day 2 and you got a dice. I don't know how much the dice cost.
Some of them can go for really high.
But I mean, like, how much it would cost Konami to produce them, right?
Oh.
If Konami just made dice, and just anyone who made it to day 2 of a big event, you just got the dice.
Yeah, I don't think...
I'm trying to think of stuff that would be cheap for Konami, that would not make the event very much more expensive, but could make it feel more valuable to the people who went.
Like the attribute dice that YCS judges usually get. Mm-hmm. They usually like go for it a lot. I know a friend who like gave up his Starlight in exchange for like a whole collection of these YCS dices. Mm-hmm. And yes, it was like a Starlight that he cherished a lot. I think it was like a Starlight Appaloosa or IP Masquerena, or it's probably like one of the Charmer monsters. But I know he traded it away. He got like the YCS dices, and then like, hey, like maybe he doesn't have that Starlight Charmer or whatever anymore, but he had like something that he really liked, which was the dice.
Well, the dice is something people really like. Like, I have thought about trying to bling out my dice a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, it'd be really cool to have official dice. But the only official dice they do are for, like, judges and stuff that they give them. They don't, like, produce them. You can't buy them. The only way to get, like, official dice from Konami is these judge packages, and they're wildly expensive because of that.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just gave out to everyone some sort of official dice, not everyone, but, you know, if you gave more of them out to people who did, let's say, not quite good enough to get anything fancier like a mat, but people who just made it to day 2 or just made it to whatever, and then you give them these dice. The dice then are a lot less expensive because a bunch of people have them, you know?
Yeah.
And it's less of a status symbol too, because it's not like you topped an event. You just did well enough to get the dice. So people like me wouldn't feel as bad about buying the dice because it's not like that prestigious. Okay. But at the same time, they're cool.
They are definitely cool to have.
Because who doesn't like some official branded dice? Mm-hmm. I wonder, so they've done all the spell trap types.
Yep.
They've done all the attributes.
Yep.
I wonder what more they have to do for dice, to be honest. They could do all of the types, you know, the goofy looking symbols they have in Master Duel.
It could. But who knows?
Have you looked at the symbols in, like, Master Duel and Duel Links and
the
other
I've seen
games?
Them. They are really funny to see sometimes.
Some of them I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And others I'm like, what on earth am I looking at?
I think my favorite is, like, the sea serpent one. It's just like
a worm-looking dude, isn't it?
Yeah.
Trying to remember.
That was basically it.
They did some funny artworks, and I think it's really funny because it's not like the other stuff. It's like symbols, right?
Yeah.
Whereas with the types, they're like images more than symbols. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Video type types. I don't even know what the Google search to get this.
Types in
Art? Nope.
Oh.
Well.
Oh, well. Oh, wait, no. Is it not it?
No.
Oh, no.
That's just some... Yeah. Whatever. Anyway, you people know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. One question I have is, I'm surprised that you haven't asked me about, like, what I thought of the meta, particularly.
Meh. I mean, we can talk about it. I have no opposition to talking about it. Okay. But I've never... This is your first time being on.
Well, yeah.
I can talk to plenty of people about the metagame. Mm-hmm. Although you do have a more valuable opinion since you are more engaged in it than a lot of the other people I talk to.
Yeah. True.
But I didn't know you were a judge. Mm-hmm. So now I know, so that was interesting. So I wanted to talk to you about it, you know?
Yeah.
And
I assume like you have a lot of questions for like Yu-Gi-Oh judges in particular.
Mm-hmm. Like, so it's not something I talk. Now I know that I do talk to a Yu-Gi-Oh judge every day, but it's not like something I thought that I did, that I had access to. So it's just a curious thing to talk about.
That's fair.
And other stuff, you know, we can talk about the metagame if you want.
I guess like since you talk about more with people about the current metagame, have you thought about the future metagame, which is especially with Photon Hypernova coming out soon? I've not looked into it as much as some of the other ones. Okay.
Like when Ishizu stuff was coming out and when the this deals, I was keeping up with what was going to happen. But to be honest, for this next format, I don't have a great idea. I know that the Kashtira cards are going to be absolutely bonkers. But I know a lot of it, for me, I'm kind of waiting on the ban list. Because I feel like that's really going to frame how this new format's going to be. Because I would be surprised if Kashtira got out of this without a preemptive hit of some sort.
Yeah, I
like
imagine.
Fenrir to 1 or something.
Like Fenrir or Unicorn, especially like maybe Konami has taken like, you know, like inspiration from their OCG like counterpart and could like apply it to this upcoming metagame. But who knows?
Here's the question though: banless prediction.
Oh, banless
prediction. You being a more confident person. Let's start before prediction. Let's talk about what you like actually would want to happen, right? Okay. So we'll address the elephant in the room, Tier, first.
Okay.
What would you want to happen to Tier?
Particularly, even though like I played the deck even though I like the deck sometime, I think like Kikalis is probably one of the bigger hits. But but judging from how like the OCG did it, we need to basically go even further beyond. Where it's like we need to actually hit we need to limit at least the names. Each of the names should be limited. So like
each of the names?
Yes, everybody.
Whoa. Sheeran, Havnus, Merly, and Rhino Heart.
Yes.
All of them should be at 1. What about Paralino?
Should be at 1.
Everything at 1. Okay, yes. Okay. Like you're gonna preemptively limit the new one? Would that be what you want as well?
No.
Okay, so just those 5 cards.
Yeah, just because I have experience, at least, and I don't know about the newest one. So I know what the new one does, but I don't have like that much experience with it.
Uh-huh. So you aren't upset with it enough yet because you haven't played against it very much.
Yeah, basically.
You don't have that burning rage inside of you. And then Kit, so you're limiting those 5 cards in your ideal world.
Yeah.
Are you also banning Kit?
I'm banning Kit.
You're banning.
Yes.
You're banning Kit and limiting the 5 other tier cards. Okay, that's quite the wish list.
Very.
I must
expensive.
Say. I'll counter with my wish list, which is just to ban Merly. That's my.
That's an interesting one.
I've talked about this before with Eddie in the previous episode. He has a stronger position, I think, than I about doing more than just hitting Merly. But I think the power level is still really high for everything else. It's not like, and I don't think we want to like neuter Tier per se, but hitting Merly does a lot, in my opinion.
It does.
Banning Merly means there's one less fusion summon.
Yes.
Which means, and that's also 3 copies of a card that you could mill to get a fusion summon that you're never going to get again. Mm-hmm. It completely, almost, not technically completely, but essentially completely cuts you off from Sprite stuff.
Yeah.
You can't make Elf, you can't make Sprint anymore unless you're going into a Link 2 first.
I think Sprint is like the most impactful one because like that interaction with Merle just like it will be always a name that like you could trigger no matter what, as long as you're able to access it.
As long as you can just vomit enough Link material.
More or less.
You can just send Merle. But for me, it's Elf. Elf making everything untargetable, and then also just being able to bring back the Merle to get fusion summons on your opponent's turn.
Oh yeah, Sprite is also one I want to get hit.
Okay, let's move on to Sprite. What sort of hits do you think they deserve? Do you want to give them?
I think I really like what the OCG did, which was like we limit starter and Jet particularly because those are like two of the they were like one of the two of the strongest card that Sprite has.
Okay.
Like because Jet allows you to just grab either something that could like special like a Sprite from deck, or 2 interruption, which is like crazy to me. And how easy it was summoned, it's just like, why?
So it's still, I guess it hurts. Well, obviously it hurts the pure version.
Yeah.
Because they're losing 2 Jet, 2 starter, some of their best cards. Yeah. But it hurts the variants a little bit because a lot of them starter means that you don't even have to, because it's just when they're special summon they all get their effects, right?
Yeah.
So starter is good because you get to summon them even if you don't have a level 2 and you still get their effect.
Yeah.
So I do see how that could help hurt stuff like Tri-Brigade. Which the Tri-Brigade version?
No, a Tri-Brigade is funnily enough. Oh wait, actually they do use starter, my bad.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
The Tri-Brigade Sprite decks.
Elf is also one. I want Elf to probably either get hit or just like limited at least.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because Elf isn't like too broken to me, but Elf is like what really gives the grind game for Sprites. And if you remove like the other 2 copies, that is just like they're gonna struggle to keep up with the grind game particularly.
I agree with limiting Elf, but for a slightly different reason.
Yeah.
What really annoys me about it is that any deck that plays a level 2 can link it and something else off for Elf. Elf bring back the level 2, overlay for Gigantic.
Oh yeah, again.
Go through the whole combo. Mm-hmm. And then make an Elf to end the turn to then do stuff on the opponent's turn, right?
Yeah.
That's something you could do with your Merle. You would just have a Merle and any other monster and make an Elf, bring back the Merle, make Gigantic, go through a whole summon Jet, search Smashers, summon another Elf. Now you get to summon the Merle to mill 3 to fusion summon, and you have a Smashers as well, and you have the protection. So that's why, for me, limiting Elf means if you're going to use it to start your combo, you don't get to end with it anymore.
That's fair enough.
Which I think caps the power level of all the variants that might want to jam Sprite in to places it doesn't belong.
Yeah. I think Floowandereeze, not any of their monster, even though I think Floowandereeze would be a strong deck regardless, but I would love to see a Bear Statue of the Stormwinds and Harpy's Feather Storm like ban.
Okay, I can see that for sure.
Yeah. They're non-engine cards that really just like puts them in a more favorable position against everybody, and it's like, you can't really play versus them unless like you play a purely going second deck.
I definitely agree with banning Featherstorm because it's just a win button that's kind of stupid.
Yeah.
The barrier statue, I would hesitate to call it out of engine because it's searchable with Robina.
Yeah.
So it's not really out of engine, but I do understand that it's a toxic card right now. Mm-hmm. I kind of wonder how good it actually would be though with Unicorn being a thing. And being a wind monster. If I understand correctly, like Kashtira Stun just completely nukes Flunder in the upcoming format.
Yeah, so to give a little insight to the Kashtira strategy, a lot of it is like basically I would like sum it up as it's better Flundereeze.
Yeah.
They basically have like the same accessibility and tools that Flundereeze have, Except even though while they're a more expensive deck, they're also like a better version because they have so many toolbox options and like it's kind of ridiculous whenever like you get to see because the upcoming support has like they have their own emergency teleport like card.
Mm-hmm.
They have their own little mini heart monster like how the other Visa Starfrost lore has, and then they have like their biggest boss monster which is a Rise Heart. It basically is a Macrocosmos Zodiac it's Zodiac Dryden, and it always like will refill its own materials whenever a card gets banished.
Yeah,
which is
it's pretty wild.
Mm-hmm.
So, what kind of preemptive hits, if any, would you give to Kashtira?
Well, I'm just gonna assume like Fenrir or Unicorn like limited, because they do their limitation will like severely hurt the or they'll hurt their consistency enough, but it won't like completely kill the deck outright.
Okay, that's what you want to happen.
Yes,
all of that. What do you think will actually happen?
I think they're just gonna put Raigeki to 2 and they call it a day.
That sounds like a Konami move to me.
Uh-huh.
I think they're going to hit tier in some way.
They should, okay. Like, the deck has been...
We agree they should, but I think they will. Mm-hmm. I think what they'll probably do is they'll probably like limit Havness. Mm-hmm. And maybe they'll also limit Kit.
I think they're gonna probably hit the field spell.
Oh yeah, limiting
probably not limited, but like outright ban it. Because the Power the Elements where they debuted it, the set has already like given it up time. Yeah. I think it's time to like let's move on from a new metagame. And if we ban Paralino, it's definitely gonna really hurt the Elements a lot more harder.
That'd be great for me because I don't own any copies in my tier.
Sadly, I do. So
I definitely see it as a possibility, especially since the Kashtira field spell is essentially another Paralino, just not as good.
And speaking of that, they also got like a new. There's a new trap card in Photon Hypernova that basically can search out any spell or trap that like mentions Visa Starfrost. And what do you know? The two only field spell that exists that can search Visa Starfrost is Paralino and the Right Phobia, which is the Scareclaw field spell. So, if we, I imagine they're just gonna hit Paralino and just leave the Right Phobia to be fine because Scareclaw isn't really doing much in the meta game.
We'll have a difference of prediction here. I'd predict that they'd limit the field spell, and you'd predict they'd ban it. That sound about right?
Yeah, I think knowing like how Konami hits stuff, it's probably gonna be the field spell.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll see what happens. Mm-hmm. And for Flunder, my guess is that they will ban the barrier statue.
Hopefully.
That's my guess.
Mm-hmm. I think the deck will be fine. It's just, no barrier statue will make it harder for them.
And then for moving right along, with Kashtira, I think that the preemptive hit is probably just going to be limiting Fenrir. I think that's all they're going to do.
That's fair, considering how Fenrir has only been in the metagame. Or it made like appearance in the metagame, and Unicorn is rarely seen because like it's not as more splashable.
I feel like the reason they'd hit the Fenrir instead of the Unicorn is because the Fenrir is just also good in everything else.
Yeah, that's like probably why. Like
it's a Pankratops kind of.
Yeah, it's just more splashable. It adds itself, and like the effect is actually pretty good against like most decks.
Yep. So those are the 3 decks to worry about, and that's what I predict will happen.
Yeah,
sound about right?
Yeah. It'll be very interesting. Like Photon Hypernova definitely like introduce a lot of new support and like a new strategy, which is the Gold Pride strategy. I
doubt that'll be good.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it'll be a fine deck.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
I really hope it ends up being someone's fun deck.
I believe, sure. Yeah. I think I'm going to see I predict to see Punk variants.
Oh, yeah.
Because like they all they have like secondary effects that
they all special summon themselves if you have lower life.
Yeah, or like have additional effects more like.
I think the additional effects is additional special summons.
They have that, but like I think the synchro.
The synchro, yeah, the synchro gets the bonus effect that it actually destroys the monster targets if you have lower life points.
And considering Punk could like not only help facilitate that,
deck and it pays life points, yeah.
It also could just like turbo out like its own boss monster because like I believe Gold Pride doesn't really have like they have a lot of flexibility. I believe.
I know some of them lock you into only Gold Pride extra deck monsters.
Yeah, but I think you can like get away with it.
I think you can just do the Punk stuff first. And then when your life points are lower, all the guys summon themselves for free anyway, so no trouble there. It seems like it'll be a cute little deck. What was the previous? V-Trooper was the previous? Well, no, Libromancer.
No, Goatee.
Oh, Goatee. Yeah.
Or I guess you could pronounce that as fish.
Fish, yes, it's very funny. The fact that some employee at Konami was like, this meme from like 2008, let's make that an archetype.
No, yeah. I was very confused on why everybody was saying fish, and then I saw it.
Yep.
I'm still confused to this day. Which, speaking of which, or
do you not get it?
I almost said speaking of fish, but there was like there's somebody at my locals who actually like plays Goatee, and they actually like been doing decently well with it. So I'm impressed. I don't think like many people can like break a TCG exclusive archetype like that.
We've had some cool ones. You know, that's like Ultra Athlete. Good old America. You know the old joke that all of the lame ones were made by the American team and all the cool ones were made by the UK team?
Really?
Because they're pretty... I don't know what the sauce is for this, but people seem convinced that the ones who made UA and FA was the American team, right? Okay. And that the people who made Burning Abyss, you know, an Italian, well, you know, the based off of the poem, which is steeped in more European history, was made by the European group, and that some of the what were the other ones? Basically, that every time we seem to get like a good archetype, bad archetype, good archetype, bad archetype, flip back and forth. Yeah, people are pretending, whether or not it's actually true, that it's always just the U.S. people, the L.A. and New York offices are making crappy archetypes, and then whenever it goes back to the U.K., other European offices, they make actually good, cool archetypes. Okay. But I like FA, even though it's bad. It's fun. Yeah.
I think my time is probably going to be up soon.
Okay. Yeah. Understood. Well, it was a pleasure to have you on. Much appreciated. Hopefully we can talk again sometime soon. Definitely. And thank you all for listening. Goodbye.
All right.